still patrol the decks. This ship didn't just sink due to a random storm, it was brought down by the weight of a legendary greed and a grudge that transcended the grave. The lore of the ship centers on its captain, Drake. In his life, Drake was a pirate king whose name alone could freeze the blood of any sailor in the ruined Midgard Sea. He had amassed a fortune so vast that it drew the attention of those who practiced the forbidden arts. According to the ancient records, Drake was eventually struck with a deadly spell by a rival who held a deep, unyielding grudge against him. This curse didn't just kill him, it bound his soul and the souls of his entire crew to the wreckage. They are doomed to watch over their treasure forever, unable to leave the rotting hull that serves as their eternal prison. As you descend into the lower decks, the atmosphere shifts from salt and sea to cold, spectral dread. This is where you encounter the pirate skeletons and the wraiths, the original crew who are still on duty, guarding the treasure chest that Drake once valued above his own life. The journey through the ship is a walk through a frozen moment in history. The wood creaks with the weight of the ocean and the spirits within it, creating a claustrophobic maze of shadow and iron. When you finally reach the deepest hold, you find the captain himself. Drake is an iconic and haunting sight, a peg-legged, ghostly figure who carries the physical marks of his pirate life into his undeath. He doesn't move with the frantic energy of other monsters. He takes his time, patrolling the dark corridors of his ship with a leisurely, haunting gait. But his power is undeniable. He wields the element of the ocean itself, capable of summoning massive waves of water to wash away any intruder. He is the undead sovereign of the Alberta coast, a man who died looking for gold and found only a curse that would never let him go. For every adventurer who manages to defeat the Pirate King, the lesson is written in the salt-stained wood of the ship. Drake represents the ultimate end of obsession. He isn't trying to conquer kingdoms or change the world. He is a man trapped in a loop of his own making, guarding a hoard of gold that the sea is slowly reclaiming. The sunken ship remains a silent monument to the Pirate King's glory and his eternal waterlogged punishment. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. You will find lots of Ragnarok online content here. Also check out the description box under this video. You will find a link to the official Ragnarok Zero global server. The Holy Bastion, the Trial of the Crusader. If you've ever walked into the Grand Prontera castle and seen the armored figures standing in the sun-drenched halls, you've met the aspirants of the Holy War. Inside, you'll find Michael Hallig, the senior crusader. In the official lore of Midgard, the crusaders aren't just soldiers, they are the shield of Odin. While the knights of the chivalry serve the king's political interests, the crusaders serve a higher calling. Their mission is to prepare for the inevitable tide of evil that will sweep the world, and they only recruit those with the exceptional faith to endure the suffering that comes with it. The most accurate fact about becoming a crusader is the vow of non-violence. During your initiation, you are sent to Murnak Mijul in the castle dungeons for the endurance test. This is the defining moment of the class. You must walk through a gauntlet of aggressive monsters without striking a single blow. Lore-wise, this proves you have the mental fortitude to be a martyr. You aren't there to kill. You are there to be the wall that takes the damage so your allies don't have to. It turns the concept of a tank into a sacred duty, showing that a true crusader values the life of their comrade over the blood of their enemy. The walkthrough of the crusader's life is a journey of constant purification. From the written tests on morality to the requirement of wearing a rosary at all times during your trials, the game emphasizes that your power is a gift, not a right. This divine connection is what allows you to cast Grand Cross or Holy Cross. But as the NPC dialogue warns, this light is a burden. The Grand Cross is so pure that it burns the caster's own body, a physical manifestation of the sacrifice required to wield the power of the gods. You are essentially a living relic, a beacon of light in a world increasingly filled with the shadows of Glastheim and Niflheim. But the most epic part of the Crusader is their covenant. When Michael Hallig finally grants you your rank, he doesn't just give you a title, he welcomes you as a brother or sister in a global brotherhood. On the Ragnarok Zero global server, the Crusader is the ultimate backbone of any party. They are the ones who turn a chaotic boss fight into a coordinated victory by using devotion to bind their soul to their teammates. They prove that in Midgard, the most legendary weapon isn't a sword, it is the unwavering resolve to stand your ground when everyone else is running away. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. You will find lots of Ragnarok Online content here. Also check out the description box under this video. You will find a link to the official Ragnarok Zero global server. The Crimson Curse, the dark legacy of the Eye of Hellion. In the sun-bleached corners of Morok, tucked away from the bustling markets of the desert, lives a man named Chilius Taios. He doesn't carry a sword, and he doesn't wear the robes of a mage, but he bears a burden heavier than any plate armor. For 3 generations, the Taios family has been haunted by a single pulsing fragment of pure malice, the Eye of Hellion. This isn't just a gemstone, it is a living relic of a ferocious beast, with blazing eyes that slaughtered Chilius's grandfather's companions in an uncharted cave. While the rest of the world hunts for treasure, the Taios family has been fighting a quiet, losing war against the madness this stone radiates. The lore of the Eye is a descent into the gaze of the abyss. According to the family journals, the stone was found sitting in a pool of blood, the only thing left of a legendary adventuring party. But the horror didn't end with the slaughter. The stone itself is a sentient curse. It doesn't just grant power, it colonizes the mind of the holder. Chilias's father spent his entire life trying to build a prison for the gem, and now that duty has fallen to Chilias. The quest is a race against time, as the Eye's influence is beginning to leak into the physical world, calling out to the darkness beneath the earth to reunite with its master. The walkthrough of this quest is an epic, globe-spanning investigation that forces you to act as a detective of the occult. You are sent to the Prontera Swordman Association not to train, but to find a hidden message carved into a training dummy, a secret code left by a man who knew he was being watched. You must tinker with specialized machinery in Geffen and consult with the ancient sage Welshun, who reveals the most terrifying fact of all. The Hellion Revenant you are hunting isn't a demon from another dimension. It was a human being, an adventurer just like you, who was utterly consumed and hollowed out by the Eye until only a monster remained. The final confrontation takes place in a hidden cave on the outskirts of Geffen, a place where the barrier between reality and the abyss has worn thin. As you step into the darkness, you aren't just fighting for loot, you are performing an exorcism. The Hellion Revenant is a grotesque winged shadow of a man, a physical manifestation of what happens when greed and ancient magic collide. When you finally strike the beast down, you aren't just killing a monster, you are releasing a soul that has been trapped in a loop of eternal agony for decades. The true epic conclusion comes when you return to Chilias Taios to complete the Nile Rose. This isn't a victory celebration, it's a containment ritual. By affixing the Eye of Hellion to the rose, you are finally blinding the demon's heart. The Nile Rose is a specialized seal, a cage made of gold and ancient wards designed to keep the Eye's gaze from ever reaching another human mind. You walk away with a massive surge of experience and a piece of jewelry that is literally a demon in a cage. You are now a guardian of the secret, carrying a fragment of the abyss on your wrist, knowing that you finally brought peace to a family that was nearly erased by a single crimson spark of evil. For every veteran of the pre-renewal era, the Eye of Hellion is a masterclass in atmosphere. It proves that in the world of Ragnarok, the most dangerous enemies aren't always the ones with the biggest HP bars. They are the ones that wait in your inventory, whispering for you to let them out. It turns a simple accessory quest into a multi-generational epic of sacrifice, detective work, and the silent heroism of those who keep the world's darkest secrets buried in the sand. The Royal Grave, the tragedy of Nameless Island. If you've ever taken the secret passage from the docks of Vanes to the fog-shrouded shores of Nameless Island, you aren't just entering a high-level dungeon, you are walking into the scene of a cold-blooded regicide. To the common citizens of Prontera, King Tristan Geibog III simply vanished, leaving a throne empty and a kingdom in doubt. But for a scholar of Midgard, the truth is rotting in the center of the cursed monastery. This island was once a holy sanctuary, a beacon of faith for the monks of the St. Abbey. Today, it is a monument to a divine betrayal that reached the highest levels of the Arunafeld's religious group. The lore-accurate truth is that Nameless Island was the staging ground for a calculated political and demonic strike. The king was kidnapped and brought here not just for execution, but to serve as the ultimate royal anchor for a forbidden ritual. The architect of this horror was fallen Bishop Hybrum, whom you will find haunting the second floor of the monastery. Hybrum was once a man of the cloth, but his ambition led him to strike a pact with the abyss. He didn't just lead a cult, he invited a primordial hunger into our world, turning the very monks who trusted him into the zombies and raggedy dolls that now wander the desecrated halls. But the bishop's madness was only the beginning. By the time you descend to the third floor, the air is thick with a rhythmic, pulsing evil and the deafening buzz of 1,000 wings. This is the domain of Beelzebub, the Lord of the Flies. In the official lore, Beelzebub is a primordial great demon of the hell dimension who represents the absence of life. He was summoned to facilitate the bishop's resurrection experiments, but the Lord of the Flies is a master, not a servant. He transformed the abbey into his personal larder, feeding on the pure souls of the clergy until nothing remained but hollowed-out husks. The most chilling moment for any adventurer occurs at the very back of this third floor. There, amidst the swarming demons and the shadows of the broken altar, lies the dead body of King Tristan III. He wasn't turned into a monster, he was simply discarded like trash after his royal essence was drained to fuel Beelzebub's arrival. In Midgardian mythology, the king's blood is tied to the spiritual protection of the land. By consuming Tristan III, Beelzebub effectively severed the link between the gods and the kingdom of Rune Midgard. This is why the MVP first appears as a colossal, bloated fly, a physical manifestation of the rot he brought to the crown, before hatching into his true, towering sovereign form. The walkthrough of Nameless Island is a journey through a failed resurrection and a successful coup d'etat. From the Hell Poodles guarding the gates to the necromancers conducting endless silent rites, every creature is a byproduct of the bishop's betrayal and Beelzebub's hunger. On the Ragnarok Zero global server, this island remains the ultimate test of resolve. You aren't just here for the variant shoes or the experience points, you are here to bear witness to the king who died alone, far from his palace, in a monastery that became a gateway to hell. For every scholar who survives the trek to the king's final resting place, the message is clear. The Day of Despair wasn't a myth. It happened in secret on these shores. Nameless Island is the final fog-covered tomb for a king who was never given a funeral, and a silent, eternal warning that even the holiest of sanctuaries can become a throne for the Lord of the Flies. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. You will find lots of Ragnarok Online content here. Also, check out the description box under this video. You will find a link to the official Ragnarok Zero global server. The Spectral Anomaly. The Legend of the Ghost Ring. In the quiet fields around Prontera, or the deep salt-stained corridors of the sunken ship, there is a presence that defies the laws of nature. You might feel a sudden drop in temperature or see a faint, translucent ripple in the air. This is the Ghost Ring. While the common pouring is the bouncy physical mascot of Midgard, the Ghost Ring is a rare mini-boss, a mutation that has phased out of our reality and into the spectral plane. The lore-accurate truth of the Ghost Ring is rooted in magical mutation. According to the official archives, ghost rings are pourings that have lived in areas saturated with concentrated spirits or unstable magical energy. Over time, this exposure causes their cells to lose their physical mass, turning their bodies into a semi-transparent blue-white mist. This gives the ghost ring its defining trait, its ghost property. In the world of Midgard, this means the creature is out of phase. Normal steel blades and wooden arrows pass through it as if it were air, and only those who can enchant their weapons with elemental spirits or the holy light of the church can hope to land a blow. But the most distinctive part of the ghost ring is its elusive instinct. Unlike the aggressive great MVPs of the realm, the ghost ring is famously shy. It is a master of the disappearing act, frequently teleporting the moment it senses a threat. This isn't just a combat tactic, it is a reflection of its unstable existence. It is a creature that barely exists in our world, and it naturally seeks to remain unseen. However, if cornered, it can lash out with spiritual energy, proving that even a ghost of a pouring can be a lethal threat to an unprepared adventurer. The walkthrough of hunting a ghost ring is a test of perception. Because of its translucent form, it is one of the few monsters that can hide in plain sight. For generations of hunters, Finding a ghost ring has been the ultimate challenge of the search skill. Its presence in a field represents a localized rupture in reality, a reminder that Midgard is a world where magic can fundamentally alter even the simplest of life forms. For every adventurer who manages to track down this anomaly and claim the legendary ghost ring card, the victory is a testament to their focus. You haven't just killed a monster, you have successfully anchored and defeated a fragment of the spirit world. The Ghost Ring remains one of the most iconic mysteries in Ragnarok Online, a silent floating proof that in the shadow of the great cities, the very air can sometimes come to life. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. You will find lots of Ragnarok Online content here. Also, check out the description box under this video. You will find a link to the official Ragnarok Zero global server, The Legend of the Sign. If you've ever walked the cobblestone streets of northern Prontera and wondered why a humble, ivy-covered house is whispered about by the highest-level adventurers, you found the home of Metz. He is no mere scholar. He is an archaeologist who has spent a lifetime chasing a shadow, the ancient kingdom of Gifania. This isn't just a quest for a powerful accessory, it is a multi-layered investigation into the first Ragnarok and the silence of the gods. The story begins with the sobbing starlight, a relic said to be forged from the literal tears of a goddess who wept as she watched the world shatter. Metz holds the fragments, but he needs a soul brave enough to help him mend a history that was broken 1,000 years ago. The first trial is a test of global harmony. Metz doesn't just hand over his life's work, he sends you across the world to his colleagues, Aryan in Morok and Jeskrian in Payon. According to the official NPC scripts, these tests aren't designed to measure your blade, but your understanding of the elemental pulse of Midgard. You have to prove you can handle the stagnant magic of the scorching desert and the vitality of the ancient Payon forest. By gathering these solutions, you aren't just making a potion. You are proving that you can balance the opposing forces of the earth itself. It is a reminder that to unlock the old world, you must first master the physics and the chemistry of the new one. Once your worth is proven, the path leads to the forge of Engelhoward in Geffen. The lore-accurate truth is that the sobbing starlight cannot be mended by ordinary fire or human ambition. It requires a master who understands the inner resonance of the stone. Engel is a man of heavy silence, carrying the crushing weight of his father's legendary lineage. As he strikes the anvil, the long, grueling waiting periods in this quest reflect the painstaking emotional nature of his craft. He isn't just fixing a stone, he is pouring his own legacy into the cracks. When the crumb of sobbing starlight is finally mended, it begins to glow with a language that hasn't been spoken since the gods walked among us, vibrating with a frequency that points toward the edge of the world. To translate this celestial light, you must descend into the city of the dead, Niflheim. Here, the quest takes a turn into pure tragedy. You encounter Likern, a dead child who has lost his marbles. In the Niflheim scripts, these aren't just glass toys, they are the last fragments of his happy memories from the world of the living. By searching the dark corners of the afterlife to find them, you aren't just completing a task, you are restoring the last shred of a child's humanity before he fades into a mindless ghost. Only after showing this compassion will the witch Kirkena reveal the devastating truth. The sign is a key to a gate that was sealed by the gods themselves to trap the spirits of the elves who refuse to surrender. The final climax takes you back to the Geffen fountain, armed with the Lucifer's lament, the key of sorrows. As the artifact resonates, the water stops, the stone shifts, and the path to Geffania tears open. Inside, you don't find a paradise. You find a haunting, silver-lit monument to a betrayed race. You must stand before the Valkyrie Sandra, the stern judge of the gods, and survive the dark illusion, which is a physical manifestation of your own shadows and doubts. When you finally hold the sign, you aren't just wearing jewelry, you are wearing the proof that you have walked the routes of Yggdrasil, restored a child's soul, and challenged the decree of the gods. As the gate to Geffania stands open behind you, the echoes of the sobbing starlight finally go silent. You have done the impossible. You have unearthed a history meant to stay buried in the dust of time, and in doing so, you have become more than just an adventurer. You are now the keeper of the secret, the one who knows that even in the darkest corners of Midgard, the light of the gods still flickers for those brave enough to find it. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. You will find lots of Ragnarok online content here. Also, check out the description box under this video. You will find a link to the official Ragnarok Zero global server. The Little Lords of Chaos, the legend of the Diviruchi. If you've ever descended into the purple-lit corridors of Geffen Dungeon, or stepped through the fountain into the high-level ruins of Gefenia, you've met the Diviruchi. With their signature pitchforks and bat-like wings, they are the quintessential fiends of the Geffen underground. But in the official monster archives of Midgard, the Deviruchi is more than just a pest. They are cub demons of the abyss, specifically drawn to areas where the barrier between our world and the demon realm is thinnest. The most accurate fact about the Deviruchi is their covenant with the shadow. Unlike a Poring or a Fabre, you cannot tame a Deviruchi with simple food. You need a contract in shadow. This item proves that in the lore of Ragnarok Online, a Deviruchi's presence in Geffen is a matter of business. They are magical mercenaries who strike deals with high-level mages and dark cultists. This is why they saturate the Geffen Tower's deepest levels. They were summoned to be the eyes and ears for the mages who originally sought to unlock the seal of Gefenia. But what truly defines the Deviruchi is their unapologetically annoying behavior. They don't just attack, they mock. Known for their high movement speed and rapid-fire poke attacks with their pitchforks, a single Deviruchi can turn a calm stroll through the dungeon into a chaotic scramble. They are the masters of the hit and run, often accompanied by their signature high-pitched giggle or screech that rings out through the darkness. Their most infamous trait is their tendency to swarm. A lone Deviruchi is a nuisance, but a pack of them, combined with their stun or darkness-inducing attacks, is a death sentence for an unprepared adventurer. They aren't trying to fight you with honor, they are trying to annoy you into making a fatal mistake. The walkthrough of a Deviruchi's presence in Midgard is one of deceptive danger. The official game description warns that once you are targeted by a Deviruchi, they are relentless. They are famous for their mentally abnormal touch, a reference to their ability to cause chaos and confusion in the pitch-black tunnels. On the Ragnarok Zero global server, the Deviruchi remains a symbol of the old-school challenge. They prove that in the depths of Geffen, power isn't always about size. A single cub demon with a pitchfork can be just as deadly as a giant if you let your guard down in the dark. For every adventurer who hunts these little lords of chaos, the lesson is clear: the Deviruchi is a reminder that the demon world is organized. Whether they are patrolling the stone halls of the dungeon or the silver-lit streets of Gefenia, they are the scouts and the contractual partners of the darkness. They are the permanent residents of Geffen's deepest secrets, showing that even the smallest spark of the abyss holds a sharp, stinging edge. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. You will find lots of Ragnarok online content here. Also, check out the description box under this video. You will find a link to the official Ragnarok Zero global server. The Dimensional Fracture, the truth of the Labyrinth Forest. If you've ever tried to navigate the 25 shifting clearings of the Labyrinth Forest, you've felt the frustration of a world that refuses to follow the rules of geometry. But in the official archives of the Sage Academy, this area is classified as a spatial instability zone. The maze isn't a natural forest, it is the hidden temple, a site where the fabric of Midgard has grown dangerously thin. The reason the paths loop where walking north can inexplicably drop you in the south is due to a dimensional tear caused by the proximity of the demon realm, Muspel. This is a place where two worlds are overlapping, creating a folded reality that traps anything and anyone unfortunate enough to step into its resonance. The lore-accurate reason for this chaos is the convergence of mana. Geographically, the labyrinth sits at a junction where the ley lines of the earth have been twisted by the demonic pressure of the abyss. This high concentration of raw, chaotic energy has mutated the space-time coordinates of the forest. It acts like a gravity well for evil, which is why you find a bizarre ecosystem of predators, from the desert's sidewinders to the jungle's killer mantises, all pulled into the same localized nightmare. They aren't there by choice, they are snagged in a dimensional web that prevents them from ever finding the exit. At the epicenter of this fracture sits the great Baphomet, but to understand him, you must understand the duality of the demon. The Baphomet you encounter in the labyrinth is an incarnation. According to the scriptures of Odin, Baphomet's true essence is a primordial force of the anti-creation that is far too massive to physically enter our world. If his full form were to manifest, Midgard would be erased. Instead, the labyrinth serves as a conductive point. The Baphomet in the maze is a physical shadow or echo cast from Muspel into our realm. He is a scout, a harvester of souls who uses the spatial instability of the hidden temple as a beachhead to slowly widen the tear in reality. This stands in stark contrast to the sealed Baphomet beneath St. Capitolina Abbey. While the labyrinth version is a free echo roaming the woods, the version beneath the abbey is the original soul kernel that was defeated during the Age of Gods. He wasn't killed because a conceptual evil cannot die, he was shackled. The abbey acts as a literal seal of stone, holding back the true essence of the demon. The monk order exists specifically to prevent this true soul from ever merging with the incarnation in the labyrinth. If the two were ever to reunite, the echo would provide the physical vessel for the god, triggering the final Ragnarok and the end of the human era. For every returning player, the Labyrinth Forest is the ultimate reminder of Midgard's fragility. It proves that the world isn't just a map, it's a living, breathing entity that can be bruised and broken by the forces of the abyss. The maze is a scar on the face of the kingdom, a place where the rules of man no longer apply and where the Horned King waits for the day the seals finally crumble. It turns a simple shortcut into a journey through a fractured dimension, showing that the shortest distance between 2 points is often a trap set by a demon who has all the time in the world to watch you wander. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. You will find lots of Ragnarok online content here. Also check out the description box under this video. You will find a link to the official Ragnarok Zero global server. The Iron Fist of God, the secret lore of the monks. In the sun-drenched streets of Prontera, the church is a symbol of healing and light. We see the high priests in their flowing robes, offering blessings and mending the wounds of the fallen. But far from the gold-leafed altars of the capital, hidden deep within the dense thickets of the Prontera forest, exists a much older, more disciplined order that the church rarely speaks of in public. These are the monks of St. Capitolina Abbey. If a priest is the gentle word of the gods, a monk is the Iron Fist, a silent warrior who decided long ago that prayer alone wasn't enough to drive back the rising tides of the abyss. The lore of the monks is rooted in a grim geographical necessity. St. Capitolina Abbey wasn't built in the remote woods just for the sake of peace and quiet. It was constructed directly atop an ancient flickering seal that imprisons the high demon Baphomet. The monks aren't just holy men, they are the iron jailers of Midgard. Their entire existence is dedicated to maintaining the spiritual strength of that barrier. Every strike of their hands against stone and every hour of meditation under a freezing waterfall is designed to cultivate a specific kind of internal energy, their Kai, which serves as a physical and spiritual anchor against the corruption buried beneath their floorboards. The philosophy of the monk order is one of absolute physical hardship. They believe that the human body is the ultimate holy relic granted by the gods, and that through extreme discipline, it can be forged into a weapon capable of shattering steel. This is the narrative origin of the Iron Hand and Callous Diamond skills. A monk doesn't wear heavy plate mail because they have turned their own skin and bone into a divine armor. They are the ascetics of war, individuals who have stripped away worldly desires to become living vessels of God's wrath. To a monk, spiritual enlightenment isn't found in a book. It is earned through the calluses on their knuckles and the iron will of their spirit. Nothing represents this total commitment more than the legendary and feared guillotine fist, better known to adventurers as the Asura strike. In the secret scrolls of the Abbey, this is considered a forbidden technique. It is an act of total self-sacrifice where the monk channels every single drop of their remaining spiritual energy into a single devastating point of impact. For that one moment, the monk isn't just a man, they are a conduit for the entire weight of their faith. After the strike, the monk is left hollow and vulnerable, unable to recover their energy for a time. It is the ultimate vow, the willingness to expend one's own life force to ensure that the darkness and the horned beast beneath the abbey remain sealed away from the innocent. For every returning player, the monk represents the peak of individual discipline in Ragnarok Online. They are the veterans of a secret war that most citizens of Midgard will never even know is happening. They prove that faith isn't just something you whisper in a cathedral, it's something you forge in your body and carry into the darkest corners of the world. They are the silent guardians of the forest, the only thing standing between the fragile peace of the kingdom and the awakening of a nightmare. They remind us that sometimes the only way to protect the light is to have the strength to strike down the dark with your own two hands. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. You will find lots of Ragnarok online content here. Also, check out the description box under this video. You will find a link to the official Ragnarok Zero global server. Deep within the Payon cave, where the air grows heavy with the scent of ancient wood and damp stone, a bell tolls. It is a soft, rhythmic sound, echoing through the fourth and fifth floors of the labyrinth. It doesn't signal a call to prayer, but a warning. You are entering the territory of the Gumiho, the nine-tailed fox, the moonlight flower. To understand the moonlight flower, you have to look back at the folklore of the Payon elders. Long ago, she was not a monster. She was a spirit of the forest, a fox who sought to understand the hearts of men. In the legends of the East, a fox that lives for 1,000 years can transcend its animal nature, gaining the wisdom of the gods and the ability to take human form. But the path to humanity is paved with sacrifice. The moonlight flower was a protector of the Payon forests, a guardian who watched over the mountain children who wandered too far from home. She didn't hunt them, she guided them. However, the balance of the world was shattered during the Great War. The influx of dark magic from the south seeped into the roots of the World Tree, corrupting the spiritual energy of the Payon caves. The moonlight flower tried to resist the darkness, but the malice was too strong. Her mind fractured. She became trapped in a half-human, half-beast state, a young girl's form with the ears and tails of the fox spirit. The bell she carries, once a symbol of guidance and safety, became a funeral dirge. Now she wanders the deepest levels of the cave, eternally searching for the children she once protected, unable to recognize that she has become the very nightmare they fear. She is unique among the MVPs of Midgard. She doesn't fight with brute strength or demonic spells. She fights with the agility of the wild and the desperate fury of a mother who has lost her way. Her dispel and web abilities aren't just tactical, they represent her desire to hold onto those who stumble into her domain, to keep them there in the dark forever. Every time an adventurer defeats her, they aren't just slaying a monster, they are momentarily releasing a tortured spirit from a cycle of madness that has lasted for centuries. But as long as the corruption remains in the heart of the Payon Mountains, the bell will eventually toll again, and the moonlight flower will return to her lonely vigil under the earth. So, the next time you hear that bell ringing in the distance, remember, you aren't just hunting for a card or a rare drop. You are facing a legend that forgot its own name, a spirit that wanted to love humanity, but was consumed by the very darkness it tried to keep away. The Sograt Desert, a vast, unforgiving wasteland where the sun kills as surely as any blade. But the desert hides more than just heat and sand. Deep within the ruins of the south lies a fortress that officially doesn't exist. This is the headquarters of the Assassin Guild, the invisible hand that has steered the fate of the ruined Midgard's kingdom for centuries. To understand the assassins, you have to understand the assassins of the desert, the ancient order that predates the modern kingdom. They weren't just hired killers, they were the balance. When the 7 royal families of Prontera grew too greedy, or when a cult in Morok gained too much power, a name would be whispered in the desert. Within days, that person would simply vanish. No trial, no witness, just a cold blade in the dark. The initiation into the guild is a psychological breaking point. Trainees are taken to the room of the unseen, where they must navigate a maze of lethal traps and invisible foes. It isn't just about combat, it's about sensory deprivation. An assassin must learn to see with their skin and hear the heartbeat of their target through stone walls. This is where the skill of cloaking comes from. It's not magic, it's a master-level manipulation of light and shadow that fools the human eye. But the guild's history took a dark turn during the Day of Despair. When the Demon King Morok broke his seal and obliterated the desert city, the assassins were the first to respond. While the Knights of Prontera were still mobilizing, the assassins were already in the ruins, engaging in a suicide mission to contain the demonic shadows. They realized that their traditional poisons and Qatar techniques weren't enough to kill a god. This desperation led to the birth of the Assassin Cross. They turned to forbidden alchemical rituals, infusing their very blood with enchant poison and soul destroyer energies. They sacrificed their humanity to become the perfect killers. They stopped being men and became weapons. The story goes even deeper with the Guillotine Cross and the Hall of Abyss. The guild discovered that the Reichenberg Corporation was trying to clone their greatest masters, including the legendary Aramis Guile. The guild's response was absolute. They deployed the rolling cutter and cross-impact techniques, turning themselves into whirlwinds of destruction to erase every trace of Reckenber's hubris. The Assassin Guild lives by a chilling code. To kill is to protect. They are the only ones who know the names of the monsters that never reach the city gates. They are the guardians of a peace that most people believe happens by accident. In the world of Ragnarok, the light of Prontera only shines because the assassins are standing in the shadows, holding back the dark. The Saint of a Shattered Body. The Intricacies of Margareta Soren. Stay a while and listen. We all know the horror of the biolabs, the kidnapping of Seren Windsor's party, and the cold, clinical experiments of the Rickenberg Corporation. But when we look at Margareta Soren, the high priest of the labs, we see a tragedy that isn't just written in blood, but in the very mechanics of her soul. In a party, the priest is the mother. They are the ones who bear the burden of everyone else's mistakes. But in the basement of Lighthausen, that selflessness has been twisted into its most terrifying opposite. Today we look at the subtle details that prove her blessings have become a curse. In Ragnarok Online, holy property is the element of the divine. But Margreta has been pushed into holy level 4. Think about the mechanical irony. Most players see a boss in a dark lab and reach for their holy water or aspersio, expecting to purge an evil spirit. But Margareta isn't evil. She is a perverted image of holiness. Because she remains holy property, using the church's own elements against her actually heals her. She has been so thoroughly wiped and reprogrammed by Wolfchev's experiments that she has become a black hole of divinity. She doesn't just resist your faith, she consumes it to keep herself standing. One of Margareta's most iconic drops is the Grand Cross, the massive two-handed mace. The flavor here is haunting. The Grand Cross mace is designed to deal extra damage to undead and demon creatures, but it is a weapon of judgment. By carrying this, the cloned Margareta has shifted from a healer to an inquisitor. She is no longer there to mend the broken, she is there to smash anything she deems unholy. Since her mind has been shattered and rewritten, she now sees us, the adventurers trying to uncover the truth, as the heretics that must be purged. The High Priest's most iconic skill is Assumptio, a spell that doubles your defense. It is supposed to be a warm embrace of divine protection cast on others. But look at her MVP card. It doesn't enhance her healing. It triggers Assumptio as a reflex when she is struck. This, combined with her other iconic drop, the Safety Ring, paints a picture of extreme self-preservation. The Safety Ring is a purely defensive accessory built to mitigate damage at all costs. In the lab, every time Margareta was hurt, she had no one to protect her. She learned that the only person she could save was herself. These items represent a soul in a permanent state of flinching, a reflex where every touch from the outside world is met with a defensive wall. She isn't a supporter anymore. She's a fortress of one. We've all been annoyed by her constant Lex Divina, silence. But look at the context. Margareta is a priest who likely spent her final moments praying for a rescue that never came. In the silence of the Reckenberg vats, her voice was useless. Now, when she encounters adventurers, she forces that same silence onto them. She isn't just stopping your spells, she is ensuring that no one else can call for help. It is a psychological projection. If she had to suffer in silence, then the world must be silent with her. Finally, look at her most common drop, the Rosary. It is an item of prayer, but it drops from a woman who is now a demi-human boss. She is still human enough to bleed, but her spirit is so holy, it's untouchable. When you loot a rosary from her body, you aren't just getting an accessory. You're picking up the discarded faith of a woman
who realized that in the basement of Lighthausen, prayers don't reach the gods. They just echo off the cold steel walls. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. You will find lots of Ragnarok Online content here. Also check out the description box under this video. You will find a link to the official Ragnarok Zero global server.
The city of Peon is the soul of the East in Midgard, a land of ancient traditions, towering forests, and a history that stretches back long before the kingdom of Rune Midgard was ever founded. While cities like Prontera are built on chivalry and stone, Peon is built on wood, spirits, and the deep ancestral roots of the earth. To a classic player, it is the home of the Archer Guild, a place of tranquil music and falling leaves, but beneath that calm exterior lies a history of isolation and a struggle to keep the old world alive in a rapidly changing land. The most striking thing about Peon's lore is its transformation. Many returning players remember Old Peon, a sprawling village of traditional Korean-style architecture that felt like a lived-in community. However, during the early years of the game's timeline, the city underwent a massive reconstruction. The new Peon we see today is a more fortified, organized version of that history, but the spirits of the old city still linger in the surrounding forests. This shift represents the city's struggle to modernize while desperately trying to hold on to its spiritual identity. Peon isn't just a town. It's a sanctuary for those who believe that the forest itself is a living, breathing entity. At the heart of this culture is the Great Tree, a colossal natural monument that serves as the spiritual anchor for the region. This is why the Archer Guild chose this location. To an archer, a bow isn't just a weapon, it is an extension of the forest's will. The training in Peon isn't about brute force, it's about patience, breath, and harmony with the wind. The archers of Peon are the silent guardians of the borders, scouts who can move through the thickest brush without snapping a single twig. They are the front line against the creatures of the deep woods, ensuring that the peaceful life of the villagers remains undisturbed. But even a sanctuary has its shadows, and just north of the village lies the entrance to the Peon Caves. This is where the city's darker history is buried, in an ancient dynastic burial ground that has become a labyrinth of the restless dead. The deeper you go, the more you encounter the tragic echoes of a forgotten era. Most famous are the Munaks and Bongons, the spirits of young lovers from a time of war. According to the legend, they were separated by a sudden, violent death before they could ever fulfill their vows. Now they wander the dark corridors as Juncture, hopping corpses bound by the talismans on their foreheads. They are not mindless monsters, but souls trapped in a state of eternal longing, forever searching for the partner they lost centuries ago. Their presence turns the cave into a place of profound melancholy, where every hopping step is a reminder of a love that refused to die. Descending further, the air grows cold and damp as you reach the subterranean lakes, the domain of the Sohis. These are the spirits of women who died by drowning, often under circumstances of deep sorrow or betrayal. With their long flowing black hair and traditional silken robes, they appear beautiful from a distance, but they are vengeful spirits of the water. They represent the cold side of Peon's spiritual world, the lingering resentment of those who were discarded by society. At the very bottom of this haunted tomb resides the Moonlight Flower, the fox spirit MVP. She isn't a demon from another realm, she is a legendary creature of folklore, a gumiho who has lived for 1,000 years. She is the protector of the cave's secrets, a playful but lethal guardian who reminds every adventurer that Peon's history is guarded by forces far older than the king in Prontera. To a returning player, Peon represents the home they found when they wanted to escape the politics of the capital. It's the memory of sitting by the fountain, the sound of arrows hitting targets in the distance, and the slow, methodical grind through the haunted caves. Peon proves that in Midgard, power doesn't always come from a forge or a library. Sometimes it comes from the quiet discipline of a steady hand and a deep respect for the spirits of the ancestors. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. You will find lots of Ragnarok Online content here. Also check out the description box under this video. You will find a link to the official Ragnarok Zero global server. Midgard, a world of magic, monsters, and ancient ruins. But even in a land of legends, the most recognizable faces aren't the kings or the heroes. They are the women in the brown and white uniforms, the Kafra sisters. Standing at every street corner, through sandstorms and blizzards, they are the silent backbone of civilization. But behind those polite bows and the identical smiles There is a sisterhood with a history as rigid as the laws of physics. To become a Kafra is to undergo a transformation. It starts in Aldebaran at the headquarters of the Kafra Corporation. These aren't just girls hired off the street. They are elite operatives trained from a young age in the Kafra Academy. The training is notoriously brutal. It focuses on extreme physical endurance and mental conditioning. A Kafra must be able to stand in the same spot for weeks at a time, unaffected by the desert heat of Morok or the freezing mists of Niflheim. They are taught to suppress their own exhaustion, their own fear, and even their own identities to become a perfect pillar of service. But look closer, and you'll see the individuals. There are 6 primary sisters who manage the world's logistics, and each has a reputation that precedes her. There is Blossom, the eldest and most experienced, often seen in the capital of Prontera. She is the face of the corporation, the one who mentors the younger recruits. Then there is Jasmine, known for her calm demeanor in the harshest environments. Roxy, who manages the chaos of the Geffen magic community. Tanny, who handles the mountain regions of Payan. Lady, the specialist of the desert. And Sonia, who oversees the docks of Alberta. These sisters aren't just clerks, they are masters of spatial magic. The teleportation service they provide isn't a spell from a book, it's a corporate secret. They use warp stones and spatial folding techniques that even the high wizards of Geffen struggle to replicate. It's rumored that every Kafra uniform is woven with magical threads that act as a tether, allowing them to remain anchored to their position while they bend the world around them. The life of a Kafra sister is one of total devotion. They have no homes outside of the corporation, and their service is a lifelong commitment. In the taverns of Midgard, adventurers whisper about the Kafra legend, the idea that if a sister ever abandons her post or shows true emotion, her tether to the corporation is severed and she is erased from the company's history. It is a lonely, prestigious, and mysterious existence. They know where you've been, they know every item you've ever looted, and they see the rise and fall of every hero who passes their counter. Kings may fall and demons may rise, but the Kafra sisters remain, smiling, bowing, and waiting for your next 40 zeni. The transition to episode 18. Direction of Prayer is the moment the spiritual mask of Rachel finally slips, revealing a nation on the brink of a bloody civil war. While previous chapters portrayed the sanctuary as a static house of horrors, this era brings the conflict into the streets, placing the young beloved Pope, who is effectively a high-value prisoner of her own church, directly in the crosshairs of a deadly conspiracy. To understand the gravity of the assassination attempt, you have to understand the deep-seated rot within the Arunafeld's religious state. The city of Rachel is split between 2 worlds, the migrants, the wealthy, fanatical followers of Freyja who built the modern city, and the natives, the original inhabitants who were pushed into the shadows. These outcasts, known as the Grey Children, were once brought into the church under the guise of adoption to bridge the cultures. In reality, they were treated as second-class citizens or experimental subjects, fueling a resentment that has finally reached a breaking point. In the middle of this powder keg sits the Pope. Though worshipped as a living goddess, she is a lonely girl trapped within temple walls, her every move monitored by a high priesthood that values her status more than her life. The tension explodes in the Villa of Deception. This isn't just a physical location, it is a manifestation of the betrayal at the heart of the church. The assassination plot against the Pope was a masterstroke of psychological warfare backed by the Shadow Illusion organization and their elite heart hunters. Their goal wasn't just to kill a leader, it was to use the chaos of her death to seize the heart of Ymir fragments hidden beneath the temple. The villa becomes a house of mirrors where the direction of prayer shifts from worship to survival. For the first time, players see the vulnerability of the church's leadership. High Priestess Niren, the Pope's only true maternal figure, is forced to turn to outside adventurers because she can no longer trust her own holy guards. The assassination attempt serves as the catalyst for the sanctuary purification. This is more than just a dungeon crawl, it is a ritualistic cleaning of a wound that has been festering for centuries. As the Pope begins to see the truth of the Grey Children and the corruption of her priests, the player is tasked with descending into the deepest levels of the sanctuary to purge the lingering influence of the illusion and the maddened zealots who still cling to their lobotomized faith. The purification process reveals that the sanctuary was never just a temple, it was a cage for the divine energy of the heart of Ymir. By the end of this conflict, the status quo of Rachel is shattered. The Pope's narrow escape from the Heart Hunters in the Villa of Deception proves that the goddess Freya and the church that claims to speak for her cannot protect the people. This purification of the sanctuary is a symbolic rebirth for the nation, but it comes at a staggering cost. The holy city is no longer a place of blind obedience, but a battlefield where the truth has finally been dragged into the light. For every returning player, this chapter is a wake-up call. It proves that the greatest war in Midgard isn't fought with swords against monsters, but with the choice between a comfortable lie and a truth that brings fire. The Pope is no longer just a figurehead, she is a survivor, and as the sanctuary is cleansed, the player realizes that the real sanctuary was never a building made of marble. It was the resilience of those who refused to let their faith be turned into a weapon. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. You will find lots of Ragnarok Online content here. Also, check out the description box under this video. You will find a link to the official Ragnarok Zero global server. Einbroch, the city of steam, iron, and a sky choked by black smoke. It is the industrial heart of the Schwarzwald Republic, a place where progress is fueled by the sweat of the working class and the greed of the elite. But in the shadows of the factories, a different kind of power was forged. Not in magic, but in gunpowder and cold steel. This is the story of the gunslingers and the rise of the rebellions. The gunslingers didn't start as heroes, they were the outcasts of a society obsessed with magic and ancient relics. While the rest of Midgard relied on staves and swords, the people of Einbroch looked to the future. They mastered the art of the firearm, pistols, rifles, and Gatling guns, tools that leveled the playing field against monsters and high-born knights alike. To be a gunslinger was to embrace a new era of independence. They were the ultimate mercenaries, bound by no king and no guild, answering only to the iron in their hands. But as the Ragnarok Corporation tightened its grip on the Republic, the gunslingers found themselves at a crossroads. The corporation wasn't just building machines, they were exploiting the people, turning Einbroch into a gilded cage. A group of elite gunslingers, disillusioned by the corruption and the accidents in the mines, decided that being a mercenary was no longer enough. They needed to become a movement. This was the birth of the rebellions. The transition from gunslinger to rebellion wasn't just a change in rank, it was a baptism in fire. They moved their operations underground into the secret bunkers and hidden tunnels beneath the Republic. They traded their flashy coats for tactical gear and heavy ordnance. The rebellion isn't just about shooting, it's about tactical superiority. They mastered slug shots, dragon tails, and the devastating fire dance, skills designed not just for hunting monsters, but for taking down corporate armies. The rebellions represent the voice of the oppressed. They are the guardians of the secret truth behind the Ragnarok Corporation's experiments. Every time a rebellion loads a magazine, they are preparing for a war that most of Midgard doesn't even know is happening yet. They are the silent vigilantes of the industrial age, waiting for the moment when the steam whistles blow and the revolution truly begins. So the next time you see a lone figure in Einbroch leaning against a rusted pipe with a shotgun in their hand, know that you aren't looking at a simple adventurer, you are looking at a member of the secret resistance. A soldier who knows that in a world of gods and magic, sometimes the only thing that matters is having enough bullets to finish the job. Most players remember their first time stepping onto the wooden docks of Alberta. It's a city that doesn't care about ancient wars or demonic seals. It cares about Zenny, trade routes, and the steady rhythm of the ocean. While the rest of Midgard is obsessed with the struggle between gods and monsters, Alberta remains the grounded heart of the kingdom's economy. It is the city of the Merchant Guild, a place where a player's worth isn't measured by their level, but by the weight of their cart. The Merchant Guild itself is a fortress of pragmatism. While the Knights of Prontera are sworn to chivalry and the Mages of Geffen are lost in their scrolls, the merchants of Alberta are mastering the most powerful force in the world, the flow of trade. They are the unseen hand that keeps the kingdom running. They organize the supply lines that feed the front lines, and they turn the chaotic streets of every major city into organized marketplaces. The guild teaches a unique philosophy, that everything in Midgard has a price, and if you are smart enough, you can buy your way to the top. There is a unique peace to this harbor town, but it's a busy kind of peace. The music is light, the atmosphere is bright, and for many it represents the first big step in an adventurer's journey. This is where you go when you're tired of the grind, to sit by the water, watch the ships come in, and participate in the player-driven economy that made the original game so special. There is a deep nostalgia in the sound of a shop opening or the clink of a successful discount. It's the memory of opening a vending shop for the first time, hoping someone would buy your loot so you could finally afford that upgraded weapon. But even in a place this grounded, there is a sense of mystery. Alberta is the gateway to the unknown. From these docks, ships depart for the fog-covered Turtle Island, the distant shores of Amatsu, and the golden sands of Kunlun. The Merchant Guild isn't just about greed, it's about the courage to sail into the horizon with nothing but a dream of profit. It represents the human side of Ragnarok, the social hubs, the friendships made while waiting for a ferry, and the slow, steady progress of building a legacy from nothing. It's a city that proves you don't need to be a legendary hero to have a story in Midgard. Sometimes you just need a full cart and a clear horizon. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. You will find lots of Ragnarok Online content here. Also, check out the description box under this video. You will find a link to the official Ragnarok Zero global server. Prontera, the imperial capital of the Rune Midgard's kingdom. To every adventurer, it is the city of beginnings, the place where we first learn to trade, to celebrate, and to gather before a long journey. But beneath the golden fountains and the grand cathedral lies a history of curses, missing kings, and a royal bloodline teetering on the edge of extinction. The city was founded as a symbol of unity for the 7 royal families of Midgard. At its center stands the Prontera castle, a fortress that has survived countless sieges and even the catastrophic Day of Despair. This was the moment when the seal of the Demon King Morak began to weaken, sending shockwaves of dark magic throughout the land. While other cities crumbled, Prontera stood firm, but the cost of that stability was a secret deal made within the castle walls. For generations, the Geibolg family has ruled Rune Midgards, but they carry a heavy burden known as the Jormungandr curse. Legend says that the family was cursed by the giant serpent itself, ensuring that no more than one male heir would ever survive to claim the throne. This was not just a myth, it was a biological death sentence that shadowed every birth in the palace. King Tristan Geibolg III tried to fight this destiny. He had 3 sons and sought the help of the church to perform a high-level exorcism to break the curse once and for all, but the ritual went horribly wrong. Instead of saving the princes, a mysterious poison took their lives, the king was left broken, and the line of succession was shattered. Shortly after this tragedy, King Tristan himself vanished. For years, players walked past an empty throne, told only that the king was away on business. The truth was far more grim. While traveling in secret to find a cure for his family's curse, Tristan was kidnapped by smugglers who didn't even know who he was. They took him to Nameless Island, a place of absolute nightmare. The king of the greatest nation in Midgard was stripped of his crown, his name, and his dignity. He was thrown into a remote, frozen cell in the depths of the abbey. There, while his kingdom searched for him in vain, the king starved. He died alone in the dark, surrounded by the screams of other forgotten prisoners. But even death provided no escape. The dark energy of Beelzebub and the necromantic forces of the island refused to let his soul rest. His body was reanimated, twisted into a mockery of royalty. He became the fallen bishop's ultimate trophy, an undead king, a shadow of his former glory, forced to wander the abbey as a mindless monster. With the king dead and no direct heirs, Prontera fell into a political nightmare. This led to the Banquet for Heroes, where the 7 noble houses, including the ambitious House Vigner and the ancient House Heine, began to fight for the crown. The peace of the capital was replaced by backstabbing and corporate interference from the Rickenberg Corporation in Lighthausen. Even the iconic Prontera chivalry, where the bravest knights and crusaders are trained, has a dark stain on its record. Many of the knights who once guarded the king were sent on a holy mission to Glastheim, only to be corrupted by the darkness there. This is why you see the Raedricks and the Abysmal Knights. They are the fallen soldiers of Prontera, still wearing the armor of the kingdom they once swore to protect. Even the Prontera culverts, where new recruits go to test their steel, has a dark origin. It wasn't just a sewer, it became a breeding ground for monsters after the legendary scholar Varmund was trapped there during a magical accident, leading to an infestation that the city still struggles to contain today. So, the next time you're sitting by the fountain in the center of town, listen closely. The music of Prontera might sound peaceful, but it echoes the story of a kingdom that is constantly fighting to keep its soul from being consumed by the darkness underneath. To understand the nightmare of the Raedricks and the Kalitzbergs, you have to understand the night the world ended for Glastheim. Before it was a tomb, Glastheim was the shining capital of Midgard, but its grandeur hit a target that the rest of the world had forgotten. Deep within the castle's inner sanctum lay a fragment of the heart of Ymir, an ancient artifact of godlike power that sustained the kingdom's prosperity. The fall didn't happen because of a simple war. It happened because the Valkyrie Himmelmes came to claim that heart for her mistress Freya. She didn't just want to conquer the city, she needed that fragment to fuel the resurrection of her goddess. On the night of the fall, while King Schmitz was away, Himmelmes unleashed a wave of corruption that bypassed the city's physical defenses entirely. It was a supernatural plague designed to sweep the board, stripping the life from every man, woman, and child to ensure there was no one left to protect the heart. This is where the Raedricks and the Kalitzbergs were truly born. They were the elite royal guard, soldiers whose devotion to the crown was legendary. As Himmelmes reached the inner sanctum, these knights stood their ground in a final, desperate attempt to protect the heart of Ymir. Himmelmes took that loyalty and turned it into a weapon. She didn't just kill them, she stitched their souls into their armor, cauterizing their oaths into their very bones so they would serve her as an undead garrison long after the city fell. The chivalry we see today is a frozen moment of that final struggle. The Raedricks aren't just patrolling, they are the eternal husks of a guard that failed to protect the heart. The Kalitzbergs, once the tactical masters of the inner sanctum, now hunt with a predatory grace that mocks the knights they used to be. Himmelmes eventually succeeded, escaping with the fragment and leaving behind a city of the damned. Glastheim stands today as a hollow monument to that theft, a place where the finest soldiers of an era were transformed into monsters, forever guarding a treasure that is no longer there. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. You will find lots of Ragnarok Online content here. Also, check out the description box under this video. You will find a link to the official Ragnarok Zero global server. The Shadow of the Sakura. The Mystery of Amatsu. If you've ever taken the ship from the Alberta docks, you know the moment you arrive in Amatsu is unforgettable. The air is thick with pink petals, and the music shifts from the upbeat sea shanties to the serene traditional strings of the East. In the lore of Midgard, Amatsu is known as the Land of Destiny. Unlike the industrial noise of Yuno or the Holy Crusades of Prontera, Amatsu is a place where the barrier between the human world and the spirit realm is paper thin. Every shrine and every blooming tree is said to be inhabited by a kami, or spirit, that has watched over the islands since the dawn of time. The most fascinating fact about Amatsu is the duality of its beauty. On the surface, it is a paradise of traditional architecture and peaceful koi ponds. But looming over the city is the tatami maze and the Amatsu dungeon, the underground shrine. According to the city's elders, the great lord of Amatsu was once plagued by a mysterious illness that turned out to be a curse from a fox spirit. This isn't just flavor text, it's the reason the dungeon exists. The underground shrine is a literal sealing ground, where the darkest parts of the island's folklore are kept locked away so the citizens can enjoy their tea in peace. The most iconic resident of this land is the incarnation of samurai, or incantation samurai. In the world of MVPs, he is one of the most tragic. Lore-wise, he isn't a demon or an alien. He was a legendary warrior who committed seppuku to protect his lord, but his soul was so burdened by his duty that he could not cross into the afterlife. He now haunts the deepest level of the shrine, a spectral general eternally waiting for a battle that ended centuries ago. He represents the eternal honor of Amatsu, a reminder that in this land, a promise kept is more powerful than any spell. The walkthrough of Amatsu is a lesson in patience. To even enter the castle's upper floors or the secret dungeon, you have to complete the Amatsu feudal lord quest. You don't just kick down the door, you have to earn the respect of the court. This turns the gameplay into a cultural experience. You navigate through the tatami maze, a disorienting hallway of sliding doors that serves as a magical defense system against invaders. It proves that the people of Amatsu don't need massive stone walls like Prontera. They use the very geometry of their homes to confuse and defeat their enemies. For every returning player, Amatsu is a memory of quiet grinding under the cherry blossoms and the sound of shinobi footsteps in the night. It proves that Midgard is a massive, diverse world where different cultures have their own ways of dealing with the supernatural. Amatsu turns a monster hunt into a ghost story, showing that even in a world of high fantasy magic, there is nothing more terrifying or beautiful than a spirit that refused to be forgotten. It is a masterpiece of atmospheric design, a reminder that sometimes the most dangerous things in the world are hidden behind a screen of falling flowers. The history of Geffen is a story of a city built on top of a tomb. To understand why the Geffen Tower exists, you have to look past the wizards and the blue gemstone shops and look at the ground beneath the fountain. Thousands of years ago, this wasn't a human settlement. It was Geffenia, the crown jewel of the Elven Kingdom. It was a place of high magic and eternal spring, where the barrier between the mortal world and the divine was at its thinnest. But during the War of the Gods, that proximity became a curse. A massive magical cataclysm, some say a stray blast from the gods themselves, tore through the fabric of reality. In a single night, the entire capital city of Geffenia didn't just collapse, it was swallowed by the earth. It was pulled into a pocket dimension, a fractured layer of reality where time and space no longer work. The elves who weren't killed instantly were trapped in a world of absolute shadow, and over centuries, the divine magic that once sustained them began to rot. They didn't just die out, they became the twisted demonic shadows and succubi that now haunt the deepest layers of the dungeon. Humanity eventually found the site, drawn by the residual mana leaking from the ground. They built the city of Geffen to harness that power, but they quickly realized the leak was actually a wound. The Geffen Tower was commissioned by the first High Mages, not as a school, but as a magical dam. Its massive stone structure is inscribed with runes from the top floor all the way down into the bedrock, designed to focus enough magical pressure to keep the gate to Geffenia sealed shut. This is why the basement is so dangerous. It isn't just a cave with monsters, it is the physical seal of the city. Every floor you descend takes you closer to that fractured dimension. By the time you reach the deepest levels, the walls themselves are bleeding magic. This is where the doppelganger resides, and he is perhaps the most unsettling entity in all of Midgard. He isn't a demon in the traditional sense, but a psychic parasite born from the leaked magic of the sunken kingdom. The closer you get to the rift of Geffenia, the more the fabric of reality thins, allowing the abyss to pull from the memories and fears of those who enter. The doppelganger is a dark mirror. He takes the form of a seasoned adventurer, wearing the same gear and wielding the same skills as the heroes who once stood as the world's protectors. He exists as a living mockery of human ambition. Every time a player descends into the darkness of the Geffen basement, the doppelganger isn't just waiting to kill them, he is studying them. He represents the ultimate fear of every warrior, that in the pursuit of power, they will eventually lose their soul to the very darkness they seek to conquer. He is a mindless, relentless echo of a hero, trapped in a loop of violence at the threshold of the elven ruins. While the mages above study their scrolls in safety, the doppelganger stands as a grim reminder that the abyss doesn't just want to escape, it wants to replace us. He is the ultimate guardian of a gate that should never have been opened, proving that sometimes the most dangerous monster in the dungeon is the one staring back at you from the mirror. The peace of the city above is an illusion, bought by the mages who spend their lives monitoring a seal that is slowly, inevitably beginning to fail. The Rachel Sanctuary is the ultimate don't meet your heroes story in Midgard. On the surface, it is the radiant heart of the Arunafeld's religious state, a place of marble, incense, and the worship of the goddess Freya. To the pilgrims traveling from across the continent, it represents the pinnacle of holiness and peace. But for an adventurer, the moment you step behind the locked gates of the sanctuary, you realize that the white marble and golden light are merely a thin veil over a foundation of fanatical horror. The dark secret isn't just a rumor, it is the cold beating heart of the Arunafeld's plot. While the worshippers in the streets of Rachel believe they are praying for a better world, the high priests in the depths are preparing for a total holy war. They aren't just monks, they are extremists who have abandoned their humanity to bring about the resurrection of Freya, and they are willing to burn the world to do it. As you descend through the sanctuary's hidden levels, the beautiful architecture begins to rot, and the true nature of the faith is revealed. The marble gives way to cold, damp stone, and the holy guards are replaced by the Vanbergs and Isilas. These weren't always monsters. They were once the most devout warriors of the church, but in their quest for divine power, they were magically lobotomized and bound to their armor, transformed into mindless zealots who no longer remember their own names. They are hollow shells of men and women programmed to kill anyone who isn't wearing the high priest's robes. They represent the ultimate endpoint of blind faith, a state where you're no longer a person, but a weapon in the hands of a corrupt clergy. The deeper you go, the more the sanctuary reveals its true purpose. It is a massive harvesting ground for the heart of Ymir. These are the same divine shards that the Valkyrie Himmelmez stole from the ruins of Glastheim. The Arunafeld's priests are using the life force of their own pilgrims and the stolen power of the world to recharge these fragments, turning the sanctuary into a biological battery for a goddess who doesn't care about the lives of her followers. The Holy Ground is actually a laboratory of divine necromancy, where the line between a miracle and a curse has completely vanished. At the very bottom of the sanctuary, where the air grows heavy with the scent of ozone and burning souls, lies the gloom under night. This isn't a demon in the traditional sense, it is a manifestation of the collective suffering and the shadow of the goddess herself. It is a mass of burning spectral fire that proves the sanctuary isn't a place of light. It is a furnace. It is the physical proof that the church isn't saving souls. It is consuming them. For every returning player, the Rachel Sanctuary is a chilling reminder that the most dangerous monsters aren't the ones hiding in the dark, but the ones standing in the light, claiming to act in the name of God. It is a story of betrayal on a cosmic scale, showing that in the world of Ragnarok, faith can be a deadlier weapon than any blade, and a sanctuary can easily become a slaughterhouse. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. You'll find lots of Ragnarok Online content here. Also, check out the description box under this video. You will find a link to the official Ragnarok Zero global server. If you've spent any time in the capital of Varun, Midgard, you know the smell of the culverts. It's a scent of stagnant water, wet fur, and something metallic that lingers in the back of your throat. To a new recruit, the sewers are just a training ground, a place to test your first blade against a swarm of insects. But the culverts were never meant to be a dungeon. They were a marvel of engineering designed to keep the White City pure. The dark secret of Prontera is that while the king sits on a throne of gold above, the city's true foundation is a labyrinth of waste and forgotten history. The lore of the culverts is a story of unintended consequences. As Prontera grew into a massive metropolis, the magical and physical ways of a burgeoning population had to go somewhere. The sewers became a shadow city, a mirror image of the streets above where the light of Odin never reaches. Over decades, the residual mana from discarded potions and the high-energy waste from the Mage Guild began to seep into the local wildlife. The common rats became the aggressive Tarus, and the harmless beetles transformed into the thief bugs that now infest every corridor. The culverts are a living example of how humanity's progress often creates its own monsters. Deep within the 4th level, where the air grows thick and the water turns to sludge, lives the undisputed king of this underworld, the golden thief bug. He is a biological anomaly, a creature that didn't just survive the toxic runoff of the city, but thrived on it. Legends say he was once a normal bug that crawled into a discarded pile of gold and enchanted jewelry thrown away by a corrupt noble. The magic within the gold fused with his shell, turning him into a living, skittering treasure. He is the ultimate scavenger, a creature that has turned the kingdom's greed into a suit of armor so powerful it can reflect the most potent spells of a high wizard. To a veteran adventurer, the culverts represent the beginning of the journey. It's the memory of your first near-death experience when a mob of male thief bugs swarmed you in the dark, and the frantic excitement of seeing that golden glow at the bottom of the pit. The sewers remind us that in the world of Ragnarok, no place is truly safe. Even the ground beneath the capital holds secrets that are waiting to bite back. It is a place where the discarded remnants of the surface world find a new, dangerous life, proving that in Midgard, the most valuable treasures are often hidden in the places we try hardest to forget. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. You will find lots of Ragnarok Online content here. Also, check out the description box under this video. You will find a link to the official Ragnarok Zero global server. If you've ever wandered too deep into the ruins of Glastheim, past the wandering souls and the rusted armor of fallen knights, you've felt a coldness that has nothing to do with the stone walls. This is the domain of the Dark Lord, the sovereign of the undead, and arguably the most powerful demonic entity ever to manifest in Midgard. But the terrifying truth that most adventurers don't realize is that the Dark Lord we face in the churchyard is only a fraction of his true self. In the official records of the kingdom, it is revealed that the life force of Midgard itself conflicts with the Dark Lord's nature. Our world acts as a drain, stripping away the vast majority of his power the moment he attempts to cross the threshold. The skeletal titan we fight in the Abbey is merely a manifestation, a sliver of his essence that is still devastating enough to rain meteors from the sky, but is nothing compared to his true form in the realm of fiends. His true eyes are fixed on Niflheim. Unlike Midgard, the realm of the dead poses no opposition to his dark presence. Lore scholars and those who have completed the sign quest know that the Dark Lord cannot enter Niflheim on his own. He requires a summoning. If he were ever successful in bridging that gap and planting his feet in the soil of the afterlife, he would ascend to his full, unmitigated strength. From Niflheim, he would be able to strike at Midgard with enough power to end the Age of Man forever. This is why he is so obsessed with the ruins of Glastheim. He is searching for a way back to his throne, using the souls of fallen adventurers to fuel the ritual that will lead him home. When the screen shakes and the sky turns red, you aren't just fighting a boss, you are fighting a cosmic exile trying to reclaim his godhood. He is the ultimate gatekeeper between the world we know and the infinite shadow that waits beyond. For every returning player, the Dark Lord is a grim reminder that the greatest threat to Midgard is the one that hasn't even reached its full power yet. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. You will find lots of Ragnarok Online content here. Also check out the description box under this video. You will find a link to the official Ragnarok Zero global server. If you walk out of the south gate of Prontera, the first thing you'll see isn't a monster of nightmare, but a bubble of pink jelly, the pouring. To a new adventurer, it is a punching bag. To the citizens of Midgard, it is a mascot. But to the scholars of the Juno Monster Society, the pouring is one of the most successful and terrifyingly adaptive organisms in existence. What exactly is a pouring? Biologically, they are classified as slimes, but unlike the toxic oozes found in the dark sewers, pourings are pure manifestations of the world's environmental mana. They don't have bones or internal organs. Instead, their entire body is a semi-transparent membrane that absorbs nutrients directly from the air and the soil. The most fascinating trait of a pouring is its environmental mimicry. If they migrate to the frozen north of Luti, they become the blue marine marins. In the toxic Mjolnir dead pit, they evolve into the green Poporing. And in the scorched fields around the Thor volcano, they absorb the heat to become magma rings. They are the ultimate survivors because they don't fight the environment, they become it. But don't let the smile fool you. The pouring's mouth is for incorporating. They are notorious looters because their bodies instinctively draw in any material that might offer a defensive advantage. That apple or empty bottle you dropped? It's now part of the pouring's cellular structure. The pouring isn't just a monster, it's a mirror. It reflects the health of the land it inhabits. In a world filled with demons and mechanical gods, the humble pouring remains the most enduring symbol of Midgard. And as every seasoned player knows, if you see one with tiny white wings and a halo, you don't laugh. You prepare for a fight. Because even a pouring, when touched by divine grace, becomes an angeling, a force of nature that can level an unprepared party in seconds. Niflheim, the city of the dead, a place where the sun never rises and the fog never lifts. For most adventurers, it is a land of haunting mystery, a jagged landscape of broken bridges and eerie melodies. But Niflheim is not just another map to explore. It is a graveyard for souls that the gods themselves have forgotten. In the cosmology of Midgard, Niflheim sits at the very bottom of the world tree, Yggdrasil. It is the cold, misty antithesis to the golden halls of Valhalla. While the greatest warriors are taken by the Valkyries to feast with Odin, those who die of old age, sickness, or broken hearts are cast down into these frozen depths. The city of Niflheim itself looks like a twisted reflection of a living town. It has a post office that sends letters to nowhere, and a tavern where the patrons have long since forgotten how to taste drink. The inhabitants are not aggressive monsters by nature, they are echoes. Ghosts, ghouls, and skeletons who continue their daily routines, trapped in a loop of a life they no longer possess. But there is a darker power governing this realm. Deep within the witch's castle lives Helia, the witch of Niflheim. She is the keeper of the transition, the one who ensures that those who enter the realm of the dead never truly leave. She experiments with the essence of souls, weaving the lingering regrets of the dead into powerful dark magic. Then, there is the Lord of Death. He is not a god, but a manifestation. He is the collective fear of every living being in Midgard, given form. He wanders the cursed streets on his spectral steed, executing the final sentence on any living soul, brave or foolish enough to cross the bridge of Bifrost into his domain. He is the reason why the path to Niflheim is littered with the shattered armor of those who thought their faith could protect them from the inevitable end. The most tragic part of Niflheim's history is its connection to the Umbala tribe. The people of Umbala worship the World Tree, but they live in constant fear of the root of evil that stretches down into the mist. They built the bungee jump platform not as a game, but as a ritualistic leap of faith, a desperate attempt to communicate with ancestors who were swallowed by the grey fog of the dead realm. So when you walk through the Valley of Gaiol or stand before the piano that plays itself in the witch's house, remember, Niflheim isn't just a place to farm. It is a reminder that in the world of Ragnarok, even death is not an escape. It is simply the beginning of a long, cold walk through the mist. If you've ever trekked through the shifting sands of the Sograt Desert, you know the feeling of being watched. But in the vast emptiness between Morok and the Assassin's Guild, the threat doesn't always come from the horizon. Sometimes, it comes from beneath your feet. This is the hunting ground of Frioni, a massive subterranean nightmare that has become a legend among the desert caravans. To a classic player, Frioni is the first weird MVP. It isn't an undead knight or a powerful mage, it's a prehistoric glutton. Looking like a cross between a giant mole and a deep-sea predator, Frioni is a creature of pure, insatiable hunger. The lore suggests that Frioni is an ancient survivor from an era before the gods, a primitive force of nature that evolved to survive in the harshest environments of Midgard. It doesn't care about the war between the humans and the demons, it only cares about its next meal. The terror of Frioni lies in its silence. It spends most of its life tunneled deep within the sand, sensing the vibrations of travelers above. When it strikes, it doesn't just attack, it swallows. Entire merchant caravans have been known to vanish into the dunes, leaving behind nothing but a massive circular depression in the sand. Its giant glowing tongue and rows of serrated teeth are the last things many unlucky adventurers see before being dragged into the crushing darkness of its maw. Despite its terrifying appearance, there is a grounded, almost biological respect for Frioni. It is the apex predator of the desert, a reminder that the world of Ragnarok is filled with creatures that existed long before the first kingdom was built. It represents the raw danger of the wilderness, where even the ground you walk on can turn against you. For every returning player, Frioni is a symbol of the desert's lethality, a monster that turned the simple act of traveling between cities into a high-stakes game of survival. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. You will find lots of Ragnarok online content here. Also, check out the description box under this video. You will find a link to the official Ragnarok Zero Global server. High above the clouds, north of the Einbrock Mountains, stands a monument to a forgotten age, a spire of white stone and ancient magic that pierces the heavens themselves. This is the Tower of Thanatos. To the modern adventurer, it is a vertical nightmare of lethal guardians and shifting floors. But to the history of Midgard, it is the tomb of a hero who was too powerful to truly die. The story begins over 1,000 years ago, during the Great War between the gods and the giants. As the world teetered on the edge of oblivion, a legendary magic swordsman emerged. His name was Thanatos. Armed with weapons forged from the soul of the world, he fought a battle that lasted 10 days and 10 nights against the demon king Morok. In the end, Thanatos emerged victorious, but he knew that a demon of such malice could not be destroyed, only sealed. Thanatos realized that Morok's essence was tied to the very earth of Midgard. To keep the demon king imprisoned, he had to create a seal that was fueled by human emotion and celestial energy. He divided his own soul into 4 core fragments, each manifesting as a physical representation of his burden. Despero, the embodiment of his despair, Maero, his eternal sorrow, Odium, his burning hatred, and Dolor, his unending agony. These 4 fragments became the emotions, the spectral guardians that maintain the barrier between our world and the void where Morok is trapped. But the cost was Thanatos' own humanity. By stripping himself of these feelings, he became something less and more than human. He retreated to this tower, intended to be his final resting place and a lighthouse of protection for the world he saved. The tower itself was built using technology that predates the Schwarzwald Republic. It is a masterpiece of celestial engineering, designed to funnel mana from the ley lines of the earth up into the higher dimensions, but even a hero's legacy can be corrupted. Over a millennium, the magic of the tower began to warp. The angels and mechanical guardians that Thanatos once commanded grew cold and hostile. They no longer saw humans as the people they were meant to guard, but as biological contaminants in a sacred space. The Reichenberg Corporation, in their endless greed, eventually found the tower. They didn't care about the history, they only saw a battery of infinite power. Their research teams attempted to harness the celestial energy, but they accidentally tripped the ancient security protocols. This awakening is what turned the tower into the death trap it is today, where the Lady Solace and the Baroness of Retribution now wander the halls, executing anyone who seeks the summit. As you ascend the 13 floors, the air grows thin and the reality of the world begins to fray. You aren't just fighting monsters, you are walking through the fragmented mind of a dying god. At the very top in the sanctuary, the shadow of Thanatos himself remains. He is no longer the hero who saved Midgard, he is a memory of power, a phantom king waiting for someone strong enough to finally defeat his fragments and grant him the rest he earned 1,000 years ago. So, when you stand on the balcony of the upper floors and look down at the world below, remember, this tower isn't a symbol of triumph, it is a golden cage. A reminder that sometimes the price of saving the world is losing yourself to the stars. If you've spent any time wandering the emerald paths of the Payan Forest, you've heard it. The rhythmic thump-thump of heavy wood hitting the grass. At first, you might think it's just the wind in the branches, but then the tree turns around and you see the hollow, glowing eyes staring back at you. These are the willows, the low-level guardians of the woodland. In the early days of your journey, a single willow was a manageable foe, but a mob of them could quickly send a novice back to the save point. They are the entry-level spirits of the earth, possessed by minor nature deities who have decided that humans have stepped on one too many flowers. The lore of the willows is a story of nature's memory. In the culture of Payan, trees aren't just lumber, they are spiritual vessels. A standard willow is a young tree that has been inhabited by a wood spirit that is curious and territorial. They don't hate humans, they just don't understand them. But then, there is the elder willow. These aren't just older trees, they are the historians of the forest. Notice the way an elder willow moves. It's slower, more deliberate, and its face is twisted into a permanent scowl. Lore suggests that these trees have lived through the original Great War, witnessing the blood of gods and men staining the roots of the world. They don't just attack because you're there, they attack because they remember what humans did to the forest 500 years ago. The fire weakness of the willows is more than just a gameplay mechanic, it's a narrative tragedy. Because they are spirits of wood and life, they are terrified of the civilization that humans bring. The torches, the forges, and the campfires. To an elder willow, a mage casting a firebolt isn't just a combat move, it's a desecration of the natural order. This is why they are often found guarding the deeper, more spiritual parts of the Payan maps. They are the first line of defense for the Moonlight Flower and the spirits of the Payan Cave. They are the forest's way of saying, the further you go, the less welcome you are. For every returning player, the willow is a symbol of the grind in its purest form. It's the memory of the early levels when a resin drop felt like a fortune and the sound of wood splintering meant you were getting stronger. But it's also a reminder that Midgard is a place where even the landscape has a soul. The willows prove that the world isn't just a backdrop for our adventures, it's a living entity that remembers every step we take. They turned the simple act of walking through the woods into a negotiation with the ancient spirits of the earth, showing that in the world of Ragnarok, even the trees have something to say, and they usually say it with a very heavy branch. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. You will find lots of Ragnarok Online content here. Also, check out the description box under this video. You will find a link to the official Ragnarok Zero global server. In the world of Midgard, where high priests command the heavens and knights clad in plate mail charge into the abyss, there exists a group of adventurers who look at the path of destiny and decide to take the stairs instead. These are the super novices, the ultimate underdogs of Ragnarok Online, and perhaps the most charmingly absurd profession in the entire kingdom. To a classic player, seeing a grown man or woman running into a high-level dungeon wearing a backpack and wielding a specialized stiletto is both a sign of extreme dedication and a warning that you are about to witness something truly chaotic. The lore of the super novice is rooted in a refusal to conform, while every other adventurer eventually chooses a path, becoming a mage, a thief, or a warrior. The super novice is someone who looked at all those specialized skills and said, I want all of them, and I want them now. They are the ultimate jacks of all trades. Individuals who have spent so much time practicing the basics that they've managed to unlock a bizarre makeshift form of mastery. They don't have the divine backing of a church or the formal training of a guild. They are self-taught survivalists who rely on sheer willpower, a massive collection of utility items, and an inexplicable amount of luck. Being a super novice isn't just a job choice, it's a lifestyle of high-stakes gambling. Because they lack the natural defenses and health of the advanced classes, every fight is a dance with death. But in exchange for their fragility, the universe seems to take pity on them. There are legends of guardian angels that appear to a super novice in their darkest hour, restoring their health or granting them temporary invincibility when they are on the brink of collapse. They have their own secret rituals, like the famous mental strength chant that can trigger a burst of power if their experience points hit a specific lucky number. They are the only class in the game that can literally pray for a miracle and have a decent chance of it actually happening. To a returning player, the super novice represents the pure, unfiltered joy of the game. They are a reminder that you don't need a glowing aura or a legendary spear to be a hero. Sometimes all you need is a very sturdy cart, a wide variety of low-level spells, and the stubbornness to never grow up. They are the mascots of Midgard's middle class, proving that with enough novice potions and a heart full of courage, even the smallest person can stand tall against the Dark Lord. They turn the serious business of adventuring into a colorful, unpredictable comedy. And in a world filled with tragic falls and ancient curses, the super novice is a breath of fresh, slightly clumsy air. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. You will find lots of Ragnarok Online content here. Also check out the description box under this video. You will find a link to the official Ragnarok Zero global server.
The soul in the paper. The bizarre lore of monster cards. Stay a while and listen. In the brutal economy of Midgard, there is no currency more valuable, more sought after, and more legendary than a monster card. Wars are funded by the Ragnarok card. The entire magic meta was defined by the Fen card. And the legendary MVP cards, like the Golden Thief Bug or Ghost Ring, can turn a mere mortal into an unstoppable god. But have you ever stopped, deep in the darkest floors of Glastheim, and asked yourself, why do monsters drop playing cards? For years, adventurers created their own headcanon. The prevailing myth in the taverns of Prontera was that a card was the literal, crystallized soul of a monster. The theory was that when a creature with a particularly strong will was struck down, its essence didn't pass into Niflheim. Instead, it condensed into a magical artifact that retained the creature's unique powers. You slot a Vadon card into your sword, and the soul of the Vadon imbues your blade with the power of the sea. It sounds incredibly epic. But Gravity didn't write high fantasy for the card system. In fact, for the first few years of the game, there was absolutely no canonical lore explaining them at all. They existed purely as a brilliant, revolutionary gameplay mechanic to allow players to customize their gear. That is, until the developers introduced a single joke item that accidentally shattered the lore of the entire game. If you farm enough, or if you participated in certain classic events, you might have stumbled upon an item called the blank card. When you read the official flavor text for this item, it doesn't talk about ancient magic or shattered souls. The text explicitly states, "This card appears to be defective because it's blank. The manufacturer may have forgotten to put in its stats." Read that again. The manufacturer. With those two words, the epic fantasy of the card system completely collapses into a bizarre, grounded conspiracy. Monster cards are not natural phenomena. They are not crystallized souls. They are literally manufactured, printed items. This implies that somewhere in Rune Midgards, perhaps deep within the shadowy capitalist laboratories of the Reckenberg Corporation in Lighthausen, there is a printing press. Someone or something is mass producing these magical rectangles, enchanting them with the specific traits of the local wildlife. Somehow see eco-admin. When you hunting hero trade, you had a commercially printed trading card before you killed it. It is a hilarious, jarring reminder that Ragnarok Online isn't just a world of gods and magic. It is a world of industry, technology, and deep, unexplainable corporate secrets. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. You will find lots of Ragnarok Online content here. Also, check out the description box under this video. You will find a link to the official Ragnarok Zero global server.
The Cursed Captain. The legend of from the Alberta to the jagged rocks of Treasure Island, you'll find the splintered remains of a once great vessel breaking the surface of the tide. This is the sunken ship. To the merchants of Alberta, it's a grim warning about the dangers of the sea. To an adventurer, it is a waterlogged tomb where the dead deck shipped the weight of greed and a grudge that transcended the grave. The lore of the ship centers on its captain. In his life, Drake was a whose name alone could freeze the blood of any sailor in the ruined Midgard. He had amassed a force that is those who in arts. According to the ancient records, Drake was eventually struck with a deadly spell by a rival who held a deep, unyielding grudge against him. This cursed souls of his entire the wreckage treasure forever, unable to leave the rotting hull that serves as their eternal prison. As you descend into the lower decks, the atmosphere shifts from salt and sea to cold, spectral dread. This is where you encounter the pirate skeletons and the wraiths, the original crew who are still on duty, guarding the treasure once valued above his own life. The journey through the ship is a walk through history. Creeks reach that you find Drake is an iconic and haunting